Good morning. It's kind of a dreary day in New York City, but it doesn't matter in here, not even a little. And I know that's my one of my favorite sayings, not even a little. I just got back my stereo system. I had no idea how much I missed listening to my own music. My music is upbeat. I like upbeat music, and I enjoy every single moment of my old CDs. Sure, they're old, but then again, a lot of us aren't young either, and I enjoy music. Hope you can tune into some music that you love also. It's not enough to just keep working and working and working. You gotta have a life, entertainment, family balance. All work is not enough. Which brings me to what's happening in our own country. Though I guess any topic on earth will bring us to what's happening on our own country, right? What am I reading about? Education. We're failing our kids. Sure, we know that all the math and reading scores are down because of the pandemic, but we're not really concentrating on those poor kids with disabilities, and we should be, because everyone in the country deserves a chance to read and understand what's being said. Years ago, I had a child that I knew very, very personally who had a learning disability. Not that he was slow, he wasn't. His brain just worked differently. And luckily for the family, there was BOCES. And this kid could take engineering, robotics, and other subjects in science and math that he loved. And today, he's a respected member of our community in our armed services, doing real technical work with drones and simulators and helicopters. So you never know when you give someone a chance to learn how far they can go. And they can go pretty far. So there's nothing like education, folks. And that's what the country should invest in. Along with, of course, we've got our wish list. Early childhood education. Still looking for the votes to give DACA kids and people on TIPS, which are temporary permanent visas, a chance to become citizens. They've been working and contributing to society for years. They deserve the opportunity to have citizenship and to forget worrying about their families and themselves. We need a voting rights law. We've needed it for 10, 20 years. It's about time it was codified. And what else did I learn that was, to me, extremely disturbing? COP15 doesn't have all the answers yet to biodiversity. And they're saying, looks like they may have to let the oceans kind of fend for themselves. What kind of a nonsense is this? How can fish fend for themselves? We're already seeing along the Columbia River, salmon fending for itself is dying. And why is it dying? Because of the pollution that is flowing into the river and decimating the fish. We're also seeing that pollution is causing suicide, and we could prevent 100,000 suicides a year by cleaning up our environment. And the list goes on. You work for the tire companies and you're getting a form of toluene in your bloodstream and in your system. And I know how potent toluene is when it's not diluted, it's not a polyphenol or whatever molecule you add to it. When I used to work in the lab and do fluorescence studies for research, one time I went above my head, picked up this huge jug of toluene. It hit the counter, hit the floor, splashed all over me. And before I could do anything, it was eating away at all my clothing. So imagine if you're inhaling this on a daily basis, what it's doing to your lungs. But let's get back to pollution. Pollution causes suicide, and in a way that makes sense. You got toxins in pollution, you got less oxygen in pollution, and people need oxygen to survive. You don't have oxygen, you don't think very clearly. You don't think very clearly, what happens? Those primal feelings that you have of inadequacy take over. And then, if you've got an access to guns, not only do you commit suicide, you commit homicide. So I think we got a couple of number one issues in this country. We got health care, where we know we don't have enough providers and enough staffing. We're not paying enough for them either. And so we really need a standard of care for healthcare professionals. The ratio of healthcare professional to patient. We know it's necessary. These are all problems that can be solved on the local, state, and federal level. We can't afford gridlock right now because there's a lot to be done. We have pollution standards. They may be a little too loose. We may be allowing too many toxins in the air and in the water and in the ground, and we don't have enough people in science to go out there and measure what's really happening. But even if we don't measure it, we got to treat people. And that goes right back to our healthcare system again, where we need better healthcare so that we can improve the lives of everyone. And then you're looking at education. Well, it stands to reason that kids suffered during the pandemic. And now we got to lengthen the school year. I never felt it was a great tragedy to go to school full time. Sure, I had my vacations, but when given the choice, I opted for summer school. And I did indeed make high school in 3 years. I also made college in 3 years. I don't regret any bit of it. I've had 8 careers. Sure, I never knew that I was going to be in any of those 8 careers. And truthfully, I don't know what happens next. But I do know one thing. I will always continue being an advocate for people. I was given the less is more bill to tackle because nobody else wanted to. And I combined with state senators and the Catal organization, and we eventually got less is more passed by our governor, Kathy Hochul. And what is it? It gives parolees a chance to stay out of jail. Doesn't let parolees have the indiscretions of parole officers hamper them in their choices of work and their choices to move forward with their lives. So that bill passed, and I want to see another bill passed too, called Close Rikers Island. We don't know what the ratio of corrections officers to inmates are yet. We don't know how many inmates are in a cell, but we know those cells are filthy and they're overcrowded. And we also know, once again, there's no health care at Rikers. And there's no speedy justice either. Kids can languish there without any verdict on what they've done for 2 to 3 years. And we do know that probably 1,000 kids can't afford bail, and so they're languishing in jail. We know 1,000 people in the jail population have mental problems, but we have no facilities to treat them. And we know that there are 19 suicides in Rikers Island this year. That's a tragedy. So I'm working on that once again with Cattell, and I hope to bring it to the visibility of my temple and to the entire community that this is something that has to happen. We must close Rikers Island. It's not fair to the inmates, and it's not fair to the corrections officers to be in a position where they can't offer any kind of help to an overcrowded jail system. And if I hadn't learned from a young attorney that there are programs that exist that can take thousands of people and you just check off what category they're in. Did they steal a backpack? Did they steal a slice of pizza? Did they commit assault? Are they mentally ill? Did they use a weapon? Well, all of that can be delineated on a program, and within a week, less than a week, you can process the population of Rikers, which is only 6,000 people now. You could probably eliminate 2,000 to 3,000 of that population just like that, if you had the right program and then a system that could speedily look at their cases and put them in the appropriate venues for help. People who have minor crimes and have just been picked up, and just because they're poor can't get out of there, they should be able to go home to their families and continue with their lives and work. Because another thing that you lose when you're in jail is your right to vote. So how many amendments to the Constitution do we have to violate by keeping Rikers open? We're already denying them the right to vote. We're denying them the right to due process. And they certainly don't have free speech. So I think everyone should be involved. If it's not my community, it may be in your community. And let's get things done all over America. It's not that we don't have the problems here, and it's not that we don't have the resources. Fortunately, we've got both. What we lack is the will to resolve problems. Well, my stereo system is over 20 years old. I was asked if I wanted to keep it. I gave them a definite yes. It brings me such joy. Our problems could be 30, 50, 100 years old. We don't want to keep them. We want to move forward. And we want to move forward with dignity for everyone. Good pay for everyone. Unionization. I'm beginning to think for everyone. Health care for everyone. And stop the naysayers. We can do it. It's within our power to do so. Thank you for listening. God's blessings for all. Happy Hanukkah. if you're celebrating like I am, and I'll see you before Christmas. You can bet on it. Thank you.